Hello and welcome to another edition or episode of Cooking with Cleavage. Today I am doing a shout out to my friend Chrissy Duggar, who keeps telling me that she wants to see more cleavage. So I'm doing a swimsuit edition. This is my swimsuit. And I thought, whenever you're invited to a party and you have to bring something, I came up with this idea to stuff phyllo dough cups, right? These are the shells, right? And a lot of times when I've seen these, they make like a little mini quiche and they put it in it, but you could fill it with anything. These are pre-baked, right? So what I'm going to do, the first one I'm going to do is made with sausage. I just chopped up the sausage really well like that. And onion. I'm going to start with the onion. I'm going to just caramelize it. So to caramelize onion, you just put it in the pan. I should have put the pot back on here to get it a little hot. I think that'll be enough onions for the sausage that we have, right? I'm just gonna sit that in the pan and let it sweat. That's the onion, when the water comes out of onion, it becomes sweeter. So that's why it's called caramelizing, right? Turn that up a little bit, get that going. And then I decided also to try different champagne cocktails. I made a champagne cocktail. That's the actual champagne cocktail last episode. And then I thought, well, there are all kinds of things that you can do with champagne that doesn't include the actual champagne cocktail recipe that I did last week. So I'm going to open up this bottle of champagne here. I'm sure you won't mind, right? Oh, usually I keep the cage on it, but I didn't today because it just slipped right off. Then you hold it at a 45-degree angle. You let all that air come out. Well, it looks like smoke, but it's just the air coming out, right? You aerate it. I'm going to open this bottle of Guinness, because I thought this sounded like a really cool one. Guinness and champagne. It's called a black velvet, right? So all you do is you fill up the glass halfway with Guinness. Uh-oh. That one's too, I put it in the freezer for too long. I always do that. Okay, so I'll open up another one. And this is Guinness Draft. It's actually really good right out of the bottle. And you have to be careful anytime you mix anything with champagne or anything bubbly. You'll notice, even if you're having a Coke or something, you gotta be careful what you mix in it, because it could make it like explode. Not explode like pow, but just like bubble up really quickly. So I'm gonna start out and just kind of test it and see how many bubbles come in. Sometimes it can come up so much that it keeps on going, right? And let's see how that settles. Ooh, that looks really good. This is my first time trying this. I just thought, I was reading different champagne cocktails and I was like, oh, Guinness and champagne? That has to be great. And I haven't had Guinness in a while. And actually, I decided to start with this today because I'm kind of hungry. I haven't eaten since breakfast. So I was like, why not start with the heartiest of the cocktail, right? Okay, so the onions have been sweating a little bit, you see in the pan. So normally when I caramelize onions, and I get to this point, and I'm going to add, like the other night when I did the peppers, I would add some olive oil to it, right? But I'm adding sausage back to it. Sausage has its own grease, it doesn't really need, I don't think I need to put a bunch of olive oil in this and then stuff it in shells, right? So here I'm just going to mix the sausage and the onion together. And I'm going to season at this point. Here, I'm just going to put a little bit of salt, just to bring it out. And maybe some Tony Chachere's. I'll add that at the end. Okay. Good. Okay, so I am going to add a little bit of Tony Chachere's just to to give it a little hint of spice, right? But you might want to start with the Tony Chachere's instead of adding salt first, like I did, because Tony Chachere's also has some salt in it. So see how that looks like it's all cooking really well together? Right? Yum. That looks so good. And I did try the Guinness and the champagne. I'm not sure if I like it as much as I like both of them by themselves, but it's up to you whether or not you like it. It's half and half. And it's good. It's just not, like I said, I don't like it as much as Guinness by itself or champagne by itself. But then after we do that, then we're going to come back and we're going to stuff these shells, okay? We'll be right back. All right, so this has been cooking for a while. I'm waiting. Actually took it off the fire for a little bit because I forgot I wanted to put spinach in it. So I'm waiting for this to get a little hot. Right? It's starting to get a little hot, and then we put some spinach on it. And spinach doesn't take long to cook, but it is going to let some water out. This is actually a spinach and arugula mixture that I got for a salad I made the other day. I was thinking about chopping up the spinach, but it'll cook down, right? And it doesn't take long, actually, for the spinach to just cook into all of it. And see, there's enough moisture. So it's there's enough moisture and there's enough spinach for there not to be a need for any additional oil in the dish, right? So I love arugula. I don't know about you, but I love arugula and spinach. So I think that's going to give it a nice little flavor, right? So while that's cooking down, as soon as it's all cooked down, I'm just going to turn it off for a really short amount of time because I want to start filling those cups, right? And then you see how now it's all starting to look wilted, the spinach? It's all wilted like that. That's when you know it's really, some of them aren't wilted yet. Just want to cook it all until it's all wilted and all kind of mushed together because you're putting that all together in the little shells, right? That looks really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all of this mixture. And I'm gonna put it, oops, messy Leslie. I'm actually gonna turn this off. Obviously not the best method I've ever come up with. Okay. That's pretty much enough, right? I'll clean all that up later just to show you. I'll grab the spoon, right? This is for my next drink. I'm going to take this cheese. It's just a cheddar. It's shredded cheddar. And I'm just going to put a little bit in each cup. Want to maybe get a little closer so you can see me do this?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think it'd be good to just have a little bit of the cheese on the bottom. I mean, who wouldn't mind that, you know? Because you know that's going to melt really well in the shells. Right. Okay, and then I'm going to take this mixture and make sure that you have enough of the onion and enough of the spinach, right? And you just put it in a little shell, right? My hands are clean, and these are mine, so I can do this, right? But that's another reason why I put this inside the pan on aluminum foil on top of this this pan or dish. So that way it can, like, you know, drip on it. It's not going to ruin anything. And I think this would be really good, too, with a sausage that's soft, you know. You can mix everything together, and it's a soft sausage that kind of fills the cup. But this is what I had today to do this. I came up with the idea, right? So this just shows, I mean, like, if you have things, you know, only thing you'd probably have to go get if you had the rest of these ingredients was the phyllo cups, you know. And you just find these in the freezer section next to the dough that you have. The pre-made dough in the section. They had these. You can make different ones. That's what I'm showing you today. Okay, so I filled all of them and I topped them with a little dollop of cheese, right? Then that way the cheese could probably go down and penetrate everything that's inside of there. And then I have the oven set for 350. So you just really have to cook them enough to melt the cheese because everything else is cooked. So you just want to keep your eye on that. And while I'm doing that, while that is going on, I'm going to make y'all a French 75, which is also a champagne cocktail. So I already have, let's see, I have my little cheat sheet over here. I already have about an ounce of lemon juice because the recipe for one calls for 1/2 ounce of fresh lemon juice. I have about 1 ounce in here. And then I'm going to do, it calls for a teaspoon per recipe of extra fine sugar. So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons because I'm doing a double recipe. I already have ice in the shaker here. As you could probably tell, it looks cold. All right. And then you want to use 2 ounces of gin. But that means, which is both of these, but it's a double recipe, so I'm going to do it twice. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then the other side. Oh, that's what we call down here in New Orleans alcohol abuse, because I spilled a little bit on the table. Anyway, you shake this up like I told you before. When you have fresh juice and alcohol together, you want to shake it because it bonds the alcohol with the fresh juice. But this is also going to help the fine sugar get broken up, right? Okay. And I put these glasses back in. And this is another cocktail that asks for a lemon twist as the garnish. So you just take the back. That's where the oils are, right? And you just run it along the side of the glass. You twist it. That lets the oils release into the glass. All right. And then you do 1/2 and 1/2 because it's a double recipe. Ooh. The ice really broke up a lot in there. And I'm going to measure it by eye. That looks about like what it is. Okay. And then I have the champagne. I just top it off with champagne. Let's see if this one is actually better than the black velvet that we had. But this is a classic cocktail, right? You just fill it with champagne. It's a classic cocktail, so I don't know how we can't like it better. And let's try that. Cheers. French 75. Ooh, that's nice and refreshing, especially for summertime. Yum. I haven't had one of those in a while. Forgot how good they were. Okay, so about now, I'm going to turn on my oven light here so we can see it. As you can see, everything's melting really well together. Right? Wow. probably going to keep that in there a little bit longer just to get a nice brown on top, right? You can more easily do that with 375 instead of 350, but my oven is, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, is not a very good one. I bought it for $30 off of Craigslist a few years ago, so obviously you get what you pay for, and that's why I'm on the market for some great, really great appliances. So yeah, so I'm gonna keep it in there until it's browned. Okay, so we took them out. I took them out of the oven, and as you can see, they're just perfect with the cheese all melting and stuff like that. And this is just one example of something you can stuff inside of these phyllo cups. Okay, so I'm gonna actually give one a try. Oh my goodness, that's better than I expected it to be. Let's see how it tastes with this. Okay, well, I'll be right back to show you what else you can do inside of these things. Okay, so this is the next idea that I had. I actually wanted to make artichoke dressing, but I didn't have time because when I was actually bought all these ingredients, I was going to a drive-in concert at UNO Lakefront Arena with some friends, and we were going to see Galactic, and it was great. Social distancing between the cars, it was awesome, but I was trying to make all this for that, which gave me the idea to do it for Cooking with Cleavage. So I found this dip. I'm not a big fan of spinach artichoke dip, but I know a lot of people are, and I wanted to give you all options that didn't include meat, right? I was gonna make a mushroom and caramelized onion with some type of cheese, you know, melted all together like a provolone or something like that. But I don't have mushrooms today, so I was like, what was I thinking? I don't even have mushrooms. But this is a spinach artichoke dip that's made with cream cheese. So I thought I'd give that a try, right? And I put a little bit of Parmesan in each cup, as you can see. And you just want to scoop that in. And I don't know. I think maybe it'd be too, you don't want it to be too much, right? So I would do about like that. And then I would actually top it with Parmesan too, right? Top it with a little Parmesan. So we're going to fill all those up. Okay, so what I did is I filled all of them. As you recall, I had Parmesan on the bottom of the cups. I topped them with Parmesan. I don't know how good this is going to be, but we're going to give it a try. And this is a very, like, I haven't tried most of this stuff before episode, so I'm going to put that in there. I'll turn it like that, and we'll get it nice and hot. Okay, so we took them out. I'm not holding this right out of the fire. I actually took it out of the oven a little while ago, and I just wanted to get it hot, right? So I'm going to put this over here because I'm going to enjoy that later. And I'm going to show y'all what I'm working on over here. But first I want to, oh no, we didn't do that. Okay, so what I'm doing here with the smoked salmon, I'm doing smoked salmon, right? So each cup, I just put a little slice of smoked salmon in here, right? And then I just wanted to top it with a little bit of cream cheese, right? Each one with a little bit of cream cheese. I got these packets staying in a hotel a while ago, and I'm like, wait a second. I have this cream cheese already here. So let me make use of it to get it out of the way, right? Come up with stuff to make. So just put each. So this is a difference between something you actually cook and something that you have to put in the oven. So I did turn my oven off. I cooked all the ones that I wanted to cook so far, and this is actually a non-cook one. It's smoked salmon. And like I said, I hope I said earlier, that these shells are already baked. If you were gonna make phyllo dough by hand and everything, or you wanted to take phyllo dough and then you can cut the cups out of them and shape them, and then you bake them. That's what they did before they put it in this container, right? You just take a dollop of cream cheese and you put it on each one. That one looks like it needs a little bit more. Right? And so this is something, like I was saying earlier, you know, you just come up with different ideas to put inside these things. And it's different than making you know, you could make any of this probably and put it over pasta or rice or serve it with anything else. But if you're going to a party and you need finger food, why not just come up with a variety of things like this that you can just stuff, and then, you know, people will remember it for sure. I'll be like, oh, remember that smoked salmon and cream cheese and the phyllo dough cups with, you know, capers, which is what I'm going to add to this next. I don't know. That's perfect for these 2 containers, right? So I made use of that. So anytime you have something like that, you're like, oh, wow, I can actually make use of something I got that I've been holding on to for some reason I don't know. And then I got this little jar of capers, right? So you can put some capers. Just drop a couple. Oh, that might be a little too much. Just a couple, right? I don't know. I like capers. So it's totally up to you whether or not you want. But while I'm doing this, I'm actually going to put these in the freezer to get nice and cold, because I'm going to do my next champagne cocktail after this, right? So just the capers, right? You could do less or more. No, Mr. Fly, you don't need to be in there. I used to date a guy who told me every time a fly lands, I don't even want to say it on this video while we're talking about food, because it was so gross. I was like, really? A fly, every time it lands, it does that? Okay, whatever. I mean, come on, it's not going to kill me. But anyway, so some of them have a little bit less capers and some of them have a little bit more. You could do even one with 1 caper if that's what you want. And then you just fill all these up, and then you can just eat it like that, you know. Okay, so now I'm gonna make another champagne cocktail, and I saw one that had Grand Marnier with champagne, and I saw another one that had grenadine, which most people don't know is not cherry juice. It's juice of pomegranate, and I cannot find any grenadine that's not sweet like the grenadine you usually have in a bar, right? So if anybody has any pomegranate syrup or anything like that that's not as sweet as that, the problem with it being so sweet is you can only use a touch. But a lot of people just use a touch and it gives color, right? So it looks like a champagne sunrise or something like that. But I decided to kind of combine the two. So use Grand Marnier, so just a little bit of Grand Marnier like that. Not even counting. I'm just, wow, that was pretty good. They're pretty even. And then I'm going to use maraschino cherries. This is Luxardo. Talk about delicious and divine, right? So the champagne cocktail that I saw that was Grand Marnier, it used an orange peel as the garnish. I'm going to actually combine these 2 cocktails, because that's what's fun about cocktails and mixology, like a lot of people call themselves mixologists these days. You just take stuff and you mix it together and you make a new cocktail, and it's awesome. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Grand Marnier and maraschino cherries and cherry juice. Like I said, Luxardo. You will notice the difference. If you get Luxardo cherries or maraschino cherries, you will notice the difference between that and the dyed red sugar balls that are in most bars, right? Oh my gosh, goodness, this looks so good. My friend here, I think, is getting a little drunk helping me, because like, how many champagne cocktails can we make today? I'm gonna give that a try. Oh my goodness, that's my favorite so far today. Well, I don't know. I like the French 75 too, but this is totally other side of the spectrum. I think it's going to go really well with the salmon too, right? Because there's like this sweetness to the drink and a saltiness with the capers that are going on. And as you can see, I did one with 1 caper, just in case somebody's not a fan of capers. If you're making this for a party, for instance, you can actually make it without any capers, or you know, you could do a variety of things. The recipe that I actually saw was smoked salmon with fresh dill, and I went to the store and I couldn't find any fresh dill, but I found this beautiful smoked salmon that already had dill in it, and so I just used that, a little bit of cream cheese, some capers. I'm gonna actually give this one a try, so let's see how that tastes. Wow. That's a burst of surprise. That's like, wow. So much. It's so moist and delicious. And it's just like bursting. It's like popping with flavor, and it's just delicious. Wow. It's like palatable on my tongue, right? Yum. And then I also have the artichoke, right? So I didn't plate that or anything like that, but we could actually give that a try. So what I was thinking is that when the artichoke dip was cold, it tasted like it needed to be a little warm. You know, so even though this isn't my favorite thing, I bet you warming it up, putting the Parmesan cheese with it, with the spinach, is actually going to make it really good. I have to take a sip of this, though, because I don't want to mix the flavors. Oh, that goes so well together. And then this is the artichoke with spinach. Wow. It's so creamy. Like full burst of cream right in my mouth. It's so delicious. Oh my goodness. Wow. I don't know if I can stand it. Anyway. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to make is dessert. So stand by. So now I'm making our last phyllo cup recipe. It's a dessert. So it calls for half the same parts of cream cheese to yogurt. So I already have half of a Philadelphia cream cheese packet, right? It calls for some lemon juice. I just squeezed a little lemon juice in there, and it calls for zest, right? So most graters, like the one I have here, this is a slicer, right? You can slice cheese and you can shred cheese on here. But this, it would either make a fine shred for cheese. It's also a grater for zest. This is a lemon peel, right? So we're just adding zest to here. It just adds the flavor without the actual, and it's a little bitter, right? But you need a little bitter. It's the same like you want a little bit of salt with your French toast. You want a little bit of salt, you know, a little bit of something bitter is not so bad, you know? So I'm gonna actually add a little bit more of lemon zest. Okay, but when they call for lemon zest, that's all they're talking about. It's just this little thing you didn't know what it was used for before, besides really fine shredded cheese, right? So we're just adding a little bit of that, right? And then I'm gonna take the same spoon I used to get the cream cheese to get the yogurt. And I do want to talk about yogurt a little bit. So I actually bought the Dannon because it was the only yogurt I could find that used whole milk, okay? I would be using Greek yogurt right now if stores carried whole milk Greek yogurt. All of them say 0% fat, and everybody's concerned about fat. Do you know that something that's used to make cream, like yogurt and butter or half and half, when it says no fat, they add sugar to it? It's first ingredient on fat-free half and half is high fructose corn syrup. Look that up, okay? So fat isn't the enemy here. There was a purposeful study, about sugar to try to sell more corn back in the 70s, I think. I mean, look it up. Look up the war against sugar. The war against cream, I mean, for sugar, for corn, for sale of corn. So anyway, you just mix this up. And you know what else I thought? So the fun thing to me about cooking is that you take the recipe, and like baking, of course, you need specific recipes for flour to egg or wetness, right? But when it comes to flavor, you can really play on it, you know? So the recipe I found for no baked cheesecake, right, was half parts sour cream or yogurt and half parts Philadelphia cream cheese. So that's what I'm doing. And you can also, with this, when you're filling these phyllo cups, you can also get, you know, those bakers, you put it in a little tube and it fills it like this, you know, it has a little hole on the end and it squirts it out. But you can do the same thing if you're not a baker and you don't have one of those. You could do the same thing with a spoon, right? So what I did is I put the phyllo cups that I have for this one in the oven so that it could get nice and hot. So because I feel like this salmon here that we did, that's the one thing I could have had, right? So it's been in the oven for a while. I'm gonna take it out now and let them cool. Right? It's just cooling right there. And then I also had an idea for using jam. Like instead of some kind of, you know, preserve or anything like that, because I have strawberry jam in my fridge, I thought, why not just make it strawberry cheesecake with strawberry jam, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm just adding some jam to this. I don't know. This is just an idea I came up with. And this is something I wanted to tell y'all because, like, you can do all kinds of things with cooking. And just because you've never tried it that way together, if it sounds really good to you, just try it. You know? Who knows? I might try this and I'll be like, oh my God, it's the worst thing I've ever tried. But that's why they say, don't try something new in cooking when you're doing something important. So like for Christmas Day and you're having 10 friends over, you don't want to try something new. You want to try something that you've tried before and it was a success, right? But right now I'm just making, you know, for me and my friend Josh here, so I can try whatever I want, right? You could even, you know what I think would be really good on this now that I'm putting it all together? Fresh mint would be really good after you fill these up. So I might actually go clip some mint from my garden. You know what else would be really good to mix this up together? My mixer. That might actually break it up much better than my spoon, right? So you just want to break all that up and you want to get it all mixed together, right? I'm going to actually go get some fresh mint to finish these off. Yep. Okay, so what I did is I mixed yogurt and you could also use sour cream together with cream cheese. And I thought to make it strawberry, I used a little bit of strawberry jam, right? So now it looks the color of strawberry. But I tried to mix it with a mixer and it didn't really mix very well. So I took out my masher and the masher actually worked perfectly, getting the cream cheese all blended up with everything, right? So that's, see, now all the cream cheese is all blended. So I'm going to do one for you, right? So you just put it, you just fill the cup with the mixture, right? And then you add a little mint leaf. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm going to do the rest of them, right? And when I come back after I fill it, I'm going to show y'all one more cocktail. And this is wonderful because it's dessert and everything, and we'll be right back. So here we are. I filled all of these cups full and put mint leaves on them and put them in the refrigerator for a while to harden, right? And I'm going to do my last cocktail. That is nectar, peach of nectar. I already shook it before we came back on, but it's just like a mimosa. I mean, you don't want it to overpower the champagne. You just want it to penetrate enough to flavor the champagne, right? And I'm using Prosecco for this one because it's a Bellini. I mean, come on, it's Italian, right? I used to go to this place in New York. It was called Downtown Cipriani's and have a Bellini. And oh my God, you could even put, look, that looks like, oh my God, the perfect amount of peach nectar. But you could even add a little bit of the peach nectar, right? Like some people like their mimosas really, you know, orange like this. And I was thinking, I've never had a Bellini like this, but what about if you put one of these maraschino cherries in it? Because I'll tell you what, I want another one after finishing that last cocktail with maraschino cherries. And then Look how delicious this is. So I'm gonna have to try one of these. This is the cream cheese or the cheesecake, no bake cheesecake phyllo cup with mint on top. Oh my god, it's so good. That's why I saved the Bellini for the end. Yum. And you know now, all I need is somebody to invite me to a pool party. I mean, seriously. I have all these beautiful things, all these beautiful cocktails, and nobody to make them for. I mean, come on, invite me to a pool party. And so I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Cooking with Cleavage. And I hope you know that cooking is more than the recipe. It is what you want to make the recipe, right? You can add whatever you want to recipes and make it your own. And that's the beauty of cooking. So thank you. I'll see you soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cooking with Cleavage.